Okay, now we come to the next subtopic. Okay, understand data context 2.2. Okay, so in this subtopic, okay, understand data context. Okay, I want you to understand. Okay, the two concepts of analysis. Okay, so there are two types of analysis. Okay, the first one is we call exploratory, and then we have explanatory. Okay, so these two are two types of data analysis approach. Okay, why do we have to know this? Because before you can produce your data visualization, you have to analyze your data first. Okay, so you have to know which approach, okay, that you want to adopt. Okay, so it is very critical to understand the difference between these two analysis because they play a different role at different times. Okay, so we might use both of them. Okay, so first, what is exploratory? Okay, so exploratory is a holistic approach. Okay, so this analysis is to understand the data by cleaning and plotting various charts and finding out what might be noteworthy or interesting to highlight to others. Okay, imagine that this is a scientist. A scientist is always taking, they always take exploratory approach because they are actually investigating something. Okay, they are trying to investigating something, trying to understand something. Okay, so it's a more holistic. Okay, the um the coverage area of the analysis is larger than explanatory. Okay, so when we do exploratory analysis, it is like hunting for diamonds in stones. Okay, so we might have, this is an analogy for you to understand the concept of exploratory. So when we do exploratory analysis, it is like hunting for diamonds in stone. We might have hundreds of stones, but not all stones are diamond. So this is what exploratory analysis is. So we are actually studying, okay, the subject in a holistic, okay, way. Okay, you will study it in major, I mean in a bigger picture, to study, okay, a subject in a bigger picture. So that is what meant by holistic. Okay, in overall picture. Okay, and then second is explanatory. So this is analytical approach. Okay, so an analytical approach means when we are at the point of communicating with the stakeholders or audience. Okay, stakeholders are the people who are interested, okay, with our data. Okay, or they are also audience. Okay, we want to share diamonds or the specific story which is worthy for them to make the decision, instead of sharing the details about all the analysis that we did. Okay, so meaning that this is, you are focusing on a specific matter. Okay, at this, on exploratory, you still don't know yet, okay, what is the focus of your analysis. But in explanatory, okay, you have a focus. Okay, so you will share a specific story, okay, that is worthy or that has interest for them. Okay, so that it will help them to make decision. Okay, um it is very critical to share the stories which are relevant for the stakeholders. Okay, so explanatory analysis can play a role here as data context. Okay, because we have some focus, so we know what to analyze. Okay, so this is called analytical approach. Okay, so explanatory can play a role as data context. Okay, so for example, you can take in a situation of in the government or in a university, for example. Okay, the vice chancellor might not know in detail what are the problems of students. Okay, what problems that students are facing during ODL session, for example. So probably the MPP, okay, MPP, and also lecturers, okay, from the faculty, okay, or representative from the student affairs department, okay, will actually make some maybe survey, okay, what problems that students are facing during ODL, okay, and there are probably a lot, okay, and then the exploratory will do the will structure the problems into categories, then only the final result will be presented to the top management, to the vice chancellor, for example, and from there the vice chancellor will focus on a specific problem, okay, so that he or she can make some decision, okay, to resolve, okay, or to give suggestion on how to resolve the problems that students are facing, okay. So exploratory is a holistic approach. We still don't know yet what problems, okay, that we want to focus, so that's why it's called holistic. And during exploratory, so we know what our focus are, we know what our contexts are, and we are just focusing on that to do a detailed analysis, okay, for that particular issues. So hope you can differentiate between exploratory and explanatory, okay. So what is data context? Okay, so data context. So data context is information boundary that we specified based on target audience backgrounds, okay, their needs and requirements for the need to communicate the information effectively. Okay, so remember the word context, okay, data context. Always relate that with boundary. You know your scope, okay. Boundary is also scope, okay, so you know where, okay, where to focus, okay. So you don't have to go beyond that, okay. So you just work within the context that your audience want, okay, because it will help you to strategize, okay, or to strategically, okay, analyze the right data and produce the right information based on your target audience background, okay. Background meaning that referring to their literacy level, numeracy, the whether they are at managerial level, okay, and also looking at their education background level, okay, and their job scope function and so on, okay. So that is the background, and also the needs. What do they want, okay, from the visualization, okay, the requirements that they want, okay, so that the information can be communicate and used effectively, okay. So it helps the audience to, by having data context, it helps the audience to understand the visualization that they are looking with data context that has been defined and justified, okay. So we have to specify our data context and justify them, and we cannot comprehend effective data visualization without defining its data context, because we might not know to what detail that we have to go through, okay. So once we know our data context, so we know what to focus. If not, we can create so many things, okay, so that it might not fit the purpose or the needs of users. Or sometimes I use the terms users. So users is also audience, okay. So we don't want to we don't want our audience, okay, to not having, okay, expectation, the right expectation, okay, from our analysis and visualization. So that is very important that we know, okay, data context that we have to work on, okay, for our analysis, and then later on with the data visualization that we are going to produce for our target audience. Okay, so probably you are asking what is metadata. Okay, so metadata is data about data. So meaning that, for example, you know what is the data that we want to focus, okay, for our analysis, okay. So metadata is data about data. So you can search, okay, what is the definition of metadata. So this icon just to show you, to give you some idea that you have to understand that we are just focusing on this data, not other data, okay, beyond the boundary, okay, or beyond the data context that we have justified for our target audience. Okay, now this is also important question. Why data context matters? Why is it important? Okay, Okay, maybe I have also mentioned this before. Understanding data context is very crucial to ensure messages from data visualization can be conveyed successfully to target audience. Okay, so it is very important. Okay, so how to know that? Okay, you have to question yourself. Okay, there are 3 questions. Okay, just now we were talking about, okay, in the first part, defining target audience. Okay, now is regarding to data context. So you also have to ask yourself these 3 questions. Okay, so the first one is who. Okay, so who is your potential audience? Okay, do they trust you as an expert because you are the one who are going to analyze their data? You are the one who are going to produce data visualization for them. Okay, so you have to be specific. Okay, specific who are your audience. Avoid general audience such as internal or external stakeholders who might be interested. Okay, so meaning that you have to be specific. For example, if you're producing a visualization for for school children, okay, whether is so you have to be specific whether it's for primary level or secondary level, or maybe student at university level. So you have to be specific. Okay, don't just put the audience like for students, because the acceptance or the interpretation by this different age of group will be different. Okay, so internal external meaning that internal external stakeholders, for example, in organization, for university, for example, internal stakeholders would be lecturers, would be the staff within university, would be the top management of university. Okay, external could be someone who doesn't belong to the organization but they have some contribution to organization, probably parents. Okay, probably suppliers of office equipment. Okay, or the ministry. Okay, or the government, or anyone from the public. Okay, so meaning that external is someone who doesn't belong to that particular organization. Okay, but somehow probably they have some connection with the information that you want to present. Okay, so in identifying your potential audience, you have to be specific. Who are they? Okay, because they are the one who will trust you on producing that visualization. And the second one is to ask yourself what. Okay, what do you need your audience to know or to do with the data? Okay, and then how to make what you communicate relevant for your audience. Okay, how do you make sure that the information that you produce you can will be relevant for your audience. Okay, and then how to form a clear understanding of why they should care about what you say. Okay, what you say meaning that what you produce or what you present in a visualization. Okay, so we have to ensure that they understand what we are presenting. Okay, what we want to show to them. Okay, because from the raw data, okay, with your knowledge, okay, with your wise thinking, okay, with your wise judgment, okay, you have to have that ability to provide a very clear understanding, a very clear visualization. Okay, so that the information can be conveyed, okay, to the right target audience. Okay, so that they can appreciate the information that you are showing in your visuals. Okay, so the third question is how. Okay, so after we have identified potential audience and what we need them to know or do, then we can look into our data and ask what data is available that will help make my point. Okay, so as you know, data becomes supporting evidence of the story that you will build and tell. Okay, because data will give perspectives and also lens. Okay, so you know lens is kanta. Okay, it will give perspective and lens about an organization. I mean that how can organization understand, or how your audience can understand, okay, about the data of a particular organization. Okay, so it depends on how the organization wants to use their data. So it is very important because data will give perspectives and lens about an organization. Okay, so when we see that, okay, the performance of UiTM student, oh, it's very good. UiTM student, you know, okay, people from outside will compare. Okay, for example, they want to send their children to university, so they will compare, okay, performance of each university in Malaysia. Okay, so when they know that, oh, UiTM has very good alumni, okay, who are very successful, okay, so it gives some perspective for the public, okay, which the visualization can act as a lens for the public to understand about the organization. Okay, that's why we have to make use the data, okay, and analyze them and produce them in the right way, okay, so that, okay, people will or audience, okay, external audience or external stakeholder, okay, can have some perception, okay, about performance of the particular university. Okay, so in order to make sure that, okay, we can design, okay, um, a very good, okay, visualization, okay, organization or any people who are going to produce visualization can employ one of these three techniques, okay, to plan the desired content and flow of information in the visualization that will be produced. Okay, they can use 3-minute story, big ideas, and storyboarding, okay, in order to articulate story and plan the desired content and flow. And then for the tools, they can use any tools they are comfortable with. Okay, for example, they can use Microsoft Excel, Tableau, and Microsoft Power BI. Okay, so these are the main three software being used for data visualization, and of course there are a lot more. Okay, so these are the three questions why data context matters. So you have to ask yourself, who is the audience, okay, what the data that you want your audience to know, and how you're going to produce that visualization.